Sir, and good morning guys. So for today's video, I am going to talk about my 5 out of 9 choices of barriers in effective communication. So before anything else, let me introduce myself first. So by the way guys and sir, I am Emmanuel B. Biosa, a first year Bachelor of Science in Criminology. So why we need to study communication? And we need to study communication because by communicating other people, we can gain more information that we don't know yet. Or sometimes by communicating, we can have more friends. So before I will discuss my 5 choices, here are my 5 barriers of effective communication. So first is language barrier. The second is emotional barrier. The third is physical barrier. And the fourth is psychological barrier. And the last one is the perception barrier. First, I am going to talk about language barrier. So, when we say language barrier, it means that having difficulties in communicating by other people or groups with the use of their correspondent languages or sometimes by using their own dialect to communicate by other people. So, when I went to my lola's house somewhere in Tanjay City, I have encountered unexpected things that I didn't want to happen. When I go there, I just ride the bus. And then, while sitting, the bus suddenly stopped at the seaport of Campi. And then, there was a girl who entered the bus. And then, she asked me if someone sitting beside me. But I didn't understand what she's saying all about because she is using her dialect, which is Ilonggo. And then, I just nodded my head to her. And then, after 10 minutes of sitting, she asked me again about a certain question. And then, I thought that she's just talking to herself. But suddenly, she looks at me. And then, I felt curious. And then, I asked her if she was asking me. And then, she said yes, but I didn't understand what dialect she is using because she used Ilonggo. And then I asked her to use Filipino language so that we can understand to each other. And then by using Filipino language, we can communicate easier to each other and we can understand to each other what we have talking all about. The second barrier that I am going to talk is all about emotional barrier. So when we say emotional barrier, it is a kind of mental block in our mind that usually influence us in perceiving others' action and to avoid trigger in communicating, especially in our emotions, ideas, and thoughts. So when my mom scolded me because I always use my phone when I am lying in my bed, she didn't know yet why I am using my phone in that time. And then one day, she told me that I can't get anything from using my phone. But she didn't know that when I am using my phone, I am studying my lessons that I am not yet that I have didn't know yet. So one day again I get mad to my mom. Why I get mad to my mom? Because she scolded me and then it results into a bad words. And I realized that that words is very wrong doing. So I make some ways to so that my mom will not scold me again. From now on, I am studying my lessons from my leisure time or vacant time. And sometimes I ask my classmates to go to the Google Meet so that we can do group study of our lessons of what we have of what we didn't know yet, so that if our instructor will ask us some questions, we can answer it easier without any hesitation. So the third barrier that I am going to talk is all about physical barrier. So when we say physical barrier, it is a kind of noise or there's disturbance that can cause block of mobility. In other words, physical barrier is a structural obstacle or is a natural phenomena, or sometimes it is a man-made environment. So last Tuesday, when we are having our orientation, I felt disappointed to my uncle. Why I am felt disappointed to my uncle? It was all because she was cutting down trees near our house. In cutting trees, he was using his chainsaw machine. That we all know that that chainsaw machine, it was a very noisy machine. So I can't find a stable connection near our house because it was surrounded by a lot of trees. So from that, I have decided to go to the nearest store where I can find a stable connection or where I can connect to the Wi-Fi itself, because that store has a Wi-Fi, or what that in our place it is called a piso Wi-Fi. So from that, I can listen carefully and I can listen well to the orientation, and I can also turn on my cameras. So from that, I already find a stable connection. So we are now going down to the fourth barrier that I am going to talk, and it is all about psychological barrier. So when we say psychological barrier, for my own understanding, the word psycho, also known as mind, it is a kind of ability of a person to make his or her own decision. It also affects human capacity in communicating of the way she talks because of his or her emotions like anxiety, anger, or mad. So last Thursday evening, my friend asked me to go to his house, and I didn't know what his problem. So when I arrived at his house, I already know that he has a problem of his report. So he asked me if I am not busy that time. Then I answered him that I am not quite busy because I already done with my some of my school works. She asked me, or she needs my help to do his report. So what I did to solve his problem, I helped him to do his report. So the way I made first is I guided him what to do first, what to do to his report, and then after 10 minutes of doing his report, we are finally done. So I am just guiding him from the start of making his report until he done making his report. So we are now down to the last part of my barrier. So just listen carefully, sit back, chill, and relax. So my last barrier that I am going to talk is all about perception barrier. When we say perception barrier, it is a kind of situation where we can quickly answer, or where we can make decision by ourselves, or sometimes it is an internal basis that influence how people communicate or the way they talk to each other, like their emotions, ideas, and thoughts of a certain event. So I have encountered a lot of things, but when I went to my lola's house last week, I have observed a lot of things that I didn't want to happen. When I sitting beside them, I smell something alcoholic drinks. And then when I look at them, they drink alcoholic drinks that I hate the most. So after 10 minutes of sitting beside them, I decided to go home because of the smell of the alcoholic drinks that I didn't really or I really hate the most. So what I did is that I just avoid the smell of the alcoholic drinks because as a member of an INC church or a Iglesia Ni Cristo church, it is not allowed for us to drink alcoholic drinks, especially in overcrowded people, because I am just obeying our beliefs of our what our doctrines has. That's my 5 chosen barriers to effective communication out of 9. So I hope you like my presentation. So that's all for today's video. Once again, thank you.